Welcome to the Catholic Table Talk podcast. This is where everything Catholic is on the table. New episodes Thursdays at 9 a.m. Eastern on most podcast platforms. Here's your host, William Sauber.
Well, with the new year coming up soon, you may be wondering, or you may be thinking about putting your kids, taking them out of public school, homeschooling them, or maybe you yourself will learn something very, very interesting this new year. Because we all have new year goals. The thing is, can we follow through? And what are some good things to learn as an adult? It could be walk around the house projects. It could be other things, or it could be it could be more about the faith. This is something that we all should be learning more about every day. And today we'll talk about some classes that are made for adults that you can take. Maybe you can put into your New Year's resolution. This coming year, we'll talk to Matt Plese, on the other side, and he was on just a few episodes ago. He talked about fasting and the upsets of from meat, and just kind of not just during Lent, but the whole year through. Again, he was just on a little bit ago, so go back and watch or listen to that episode. And again, he's coming up in just a moment. Again, I want to thank you for a great year this past year in 2024. It's been a phenomenal year. If you have a show request or a speaker topic, speaker you want to come on, please email us at catholictt@gmail.com. It's the official email and the fastest way to get a hold of us. Also, if you're thinking about joining Dr. George Seguma and I on the Holy Land pilgrimage this spring, still a few spots available, but please let us do it today. More info at catholictabletalk.com as well as drgeorge.com. He's also today's sponsor again. Find out more about Dr. George at drgeorge.com. So thank you for Dr. George Seguma for sponsoring today's episode again. All right, on to today's show. Again, we got Matt Plese coming back on the show, and he mentioned last episode that he teaches some classes. Again, they were made for adults on the faith, and they sounded very, very interesting. So during the interview, I invited him to come back on, and he absolutely said yes. So it's really a treat to have him back on the show so soon again. So let's welcome back Matt Plese. So Matt, thank you for your time, and it's really great to have you back on the show again.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoyed our discussion last time. I thought it would be helpful. I thought hopefully a lot of people got a lot out of it, because what we talked about last time was something that most Catholics don't know about. So if somebody listening didn't listen to that episode, I think you should totally check it out on fasting and abstinence. But great to be here again, and hopefully we can have another great conversation today.
Right, absolutely. So I know you talked a little bit about the classes just to hear last episode, and I did provide a straight link to the classes down in the show notes of last episode. But again, just refresher, where can people find the courses that you teach, and which one is your favorite one to teach? Because you teach multiple.
I do. So again, thanks for having me on. I'm kind of tried to be an expert in matters of catechesis and apologetics. That's really where I've worked towards for the benefit of the church now for nearly 2 decades. So I am the president of catechismclass.com. That's where we offer these online courses at. And I've actually been assisting and leading the organization since 2010. But we were actually started back in 2004. So it's our 20-year anniversary, actually. We celebrated this year. Thank you. We were founded by a priest, Father James Adalava of the Diocese of Altoona, who led the organization for a while. He ultimately passed away in 2018, but I assisted him with writing and research early on, and that transitioned to me taking over a lot of the responsibilities for him in 2010, and I've been doing that now for 14 years. But basically what we do at catechismclass.com is we make available religious education for everybody. So you emphasize our adult classes. And I would say that those are some of my favorite ones because those are the ones I feel like people can really get a lot out of, because a lot of people feel like they were poorly catechized and they're missing out. So that's what I get a lot of benefit of teaching those classes. But we have classes for literally everybody from kindergarten until adults. So if you wanted to sign up children to study the faith online at home as a supplement to their CCD classes, or as part of a homeschooling curriculum, we have classes for children. We have classes for adults too. Literally everybody. Whether or not you just want to learn about the faith, whether you wanted to prepare for your sacraments over the years, whether you're an adult who's preparing for your sacraments, whether you're an adult who wants to convert. We have classes for literally all of those situations. So it's not just adult doctrinal classes. We also have children's doctrinal classes, but then we also have sacramental preparation classes as well. Like I said, if you're preparing for your sacraments or your children are, we have special treks of courses for those people. And we even have courses for those pairing for holy matrimony. So if you and your fiance are going through a class, you could take a marriage prep with us. We also have a best-selling godparent baptismal class, because in most parts of the country, godparents and parents have to take a class before the child's baptized, and we are the leader in this class in the United States. We serve it in all 50 states and I think over 25 different countries right now. So that's a little bit of what we offer. So it's quite a breadth. So if you're looking to really study anything dealing with the Catholic faith, we try to be the one-stop shop for all online classes that you might possibly need. I would say my favorite, those are adult classes, especially our adult faith formation class, because that's a bundle of 6 different classes that we have offered at a low price. And so many people who take that, whether one, you were Catholic your whole life and you just want to refresh yourself or relearn, or you want to convert and you want to understand and you want to take it as an RCIA type class. We have both people who take it, and everybody walks away learning so much. We've had people in their 80s take the class, lifelong Catholics, learning a lot. We've had people 16 years old take the class. So literally everybody, and nobody doesn't learn something. It's just something for everybody. And that's what I love so much, because the faith is very deep. It's not superficial. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people feel like when they grew up, the faith was kind of superficial. You learn like the same basic stuff all along. You never really went deeper. And there's so much depth out there that people don't know about. So I would encourage everybody, like we almost have a guarantee that you're going to learn something in that class. Like absolutely, you'll probably learn hundreds if not thousands of things in the class. So that's how strongly I feel about it. It's really a mission and an apostolate of ours to make this available.
Gotcha. And my bad, Matt, I thought it was just for adults, and I didn't realize it was for everyone. So my apologies on that. Because I mean that's truthfully wonderful. Like you said, it's one-stop shop for it. So you can cut me off next time. I just, like I said, I misunderstood, so my bad on that part. But and like you said, I think a lot of people poorly, the in the confirmation class or in catechism, they are poorly taught, or if you're like a lot of people, I feel you go through faith formation your whole life, and then you kind of forget some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff later on in life, and not that you mean to. It's just that was probably the only time that you really learned it, and it has really stuck with you. So this is, I mean, just for, like you said, just not going. You were taught stuff, but you weren't taught deeper stuff, and I think, and it's kind of like if you're just going to church on Sunday, right? If you have a priest who gives a 5-minute homily, he's not really going deep. But if you have a priest who gives a 15-minute homily, which is really, really long, a lot of people get tired from him or bored or wander off or whatever the case might be. But his homily is probably a lot more detailed and go deeper about the topic that he's discussing, which we all need. That's how you learn. So I think that's really great stuff.
Right.
So what are the prices for the classes? I mean, average, you have to give specific, but average, and why should people spend their time taking them? I mean, yes, you're going to learn a lot, but I mean,
Right.
what's different from other classes online?
Right. So why you should take them? There's a few reasons that, and one of which is, you just talked about a priest giving a sermon. That is not necessarily meant to be your catechetical formation. He's usually
Right.
commenting on the readings. He's not there to explain all things about the faith. So unless you're supplementing going to Sunday Mass with sound reading and study, you're not going to know the fullness of the faith, because that's not what the sermon is meant to. He's not flipping through teaching the catechism. It's not a catechism class. And the notion that simply because you're confirmed you know everything is simply false. I mean, there are things that I continue to learn and try to share and write about. And so you're never just going to reach the end of learning about church history and these nuanced things. And relatively beginner and intermediate topics people aren't talking about. So sometimes when people ask me, why should you spend time taking classes? I'm like, well, there's probably a lot you don't know about. And
Right.
of course, the faith is vital for our salvation. You must know the faith. You have to believe it. You have to live it, and you love it. But how can you love something if you don't know it? Like, how can you love somebody if you don't know them? You might love the idea of them, but you don't actually care about them themselves. So the faith is kind of like that too. We have to learn the faith, and we should teach the faith. We should teach the faith to others. We should teach the faith to children. And in fact, the church gives an indulgence for studying scripture, studying catechism, and teaching children. So that's very much also an indulged work, but it's also a spiritual work of mercy that we can make available by spreading the knowledge that we're learning to other people. And there's so many aspects of the faith that people don't know about. So when somebody's like, I know everything about the faith already, there's nothing I could possibly learn. There's just so much that I could say, but I mean, I probably have dozens of questions I might ask. I'd be like, well, one, do you know what Ember Days are and when they occur? Two, do you know what Rogation Days are? Three, do you know when St. John the Baptist was cleansed of original sin? Because how was he conceived with original sin, but born without original sin? So, I mean, these are some of the questions I might go. I'm like, do you understand that during Mass, if there's a relic of the true cross, the priest has to genuflect to it? And why is he genuflecting to that relic? And that's the only relic in the world he would genuflect to. What is involved in the consecration of an altar? What's involved in the consecration of a church. There's just so many questions I might go on. And if you didn't know the full answer to all of them, then, I mean, obviously you're going to learn a lot in the classes. And that's just some of the many topics covered. But we try to make it available to people because, one, you do need to learn the faith. You need to love it. You need to spread it because it's obviously about our Lord and about the faith that saves us. And we try to do it all for good price. You asked what our prices are, and most individual classes are a little less than $30. So you'll find children's classes, they're about $25 for a year. Adult classes are a little under $30 for a year, but you can buy bundles of classes for a cheaper per class equivalent. So the adult faith formation program, $99, but that's going to be 6 different courses that you get for a bundled price. So we have several bundles as well, but most courses you're looking at are in the range of $28 to $30 each. It's also lifetime access too. So it doesn't expire after 60 days. It's not like you go through it once and it's done. All the courses are based around our 7 steps of catechetical formation. So you start off with an introduction, then you go to an opening prayer, and then you do scripture passages that pertain to the topic at hand. Then you go to catechism passages from many different catechisms, because there's not just one catechism, there's dozens of catechisms that we might pull in for a topic. And then there's going to be our integration lesson page where we're talking about the topic, we're tying in things. It might be the church fathers, it might just be church history, it might be liturgy, different things to explain the topic. Then we have an activity so that way you can act upon what you're learning. And then we close with a closing prayer. And, these prayers could differ greatly depending if it's a children's lesson, so you have to teach them prayers. We have audio prayers as well, so you can listen to them in English or in Latin too. For adults, we have other prayers too. We might be praying parts of the Divine Office online together to get people familiar with that. So it's actually very varied depending on if it's a beginner course, an intermediate, an advanced, an adult, or a child. But there's always something there for everybody. But every single lesson concludes with a short short quiz too, so that way you know that you were learning some of the topics at hand as well. So that's just generally how they work, why you should take them, and we do strive to keep them very affordable for absolutely everybody.
Right, and that's really important. I mean, everyone does not like to pay. I mean, everyone doesn't like to spend money, but even for faith related things, whether that's books, whether that's something sacred and holy, you still look at the price. You're like, can I afford it? Can I, should I get that? Um, but yeah, it's really affordable because you said 25, $30 a year right now a month.
Right, right. This
Like,
and that's a
so,
one. So if you buy the class, for instance, on the theology of the Mass, that's less than $30 and lifetime access to that course for yourself.
right,
So it's we don't do any subscriptions or anything, so you don't have to worry about any additional billing ever.
right. I mean, that's for 25, $30 a year. I mean, that's way cheaper than your cell phone bill. That's way cheaper than anything else. So
Hmm.
it's definitely
And
something
it's
that,
much cheaper than a lot of other alternatives. There are, I mean,
right,
of the other places, I know not many, nobody really does exactly what we do. With our format and with our comprehensive nature of our classes, nobody's been around as long as us too. When Father Zadalava formed us in 2004, we were the leader, the first online catechism program when the internet was very new. We were the first ones to design a high school program modeled after the USCCB's framework for what a high school religious education program should be. We just
wow,
happen to do everything online. So we don't do textbooks. We're not in, Catholic schools like that because we believe in the flexibility that online education allows people to learn at your own pace and your own schedule regarding how busy you are at work or the demands of your child's, education or extracurriculars or the myriad of other things that are quite legitimate that get in the way. We want to get rid of those and say you can learn if you want at 3 a.m. If that's the only time that you had to study the faith, that's fine. And we have had people who have studied to become Catholic through our class who otherwise were not able to go through our CIA because they had a work schedule that was impossible. Or, for instance, we had off the road truckers who were just never in the same spot, so that's not
gotcha.
possible. We've had people who were surgeons who were just on call and it's impossible. They're like, there is no chance that I can make, for instance, Wednesday night. At this time for the next 9 months is impossible. Like, I cannot do it. I don't know where I am any day. And so we've made it possible for those people to study the fullness of the faith from the comfort of their own home. And we're really big on ensuring that quality is great. So just because it's online doesn't mean it's bad quality. I mean, in fact, it's excellent quality. It's just a different means to reach the same people. As St. Paul said, you become all things to all people to save at least some. And that was our founding mission, was we're simply going to use new technology to reach more people and in order to spread the faith. And that's our mission still to this day, to reach absolutely everybody everywhere with the absolute best quality, but with accountability too. So like if you are studying and your parish is concerned, are you actually, studying and learning? Well, the time you spend in lessons is logged. Your scores are logged. So we can see all of this. So that way there is a clear accountability trail. So you didn't spend 10 seconds on a lesson and go to the quiz. You wouldn't even access the quiz in 10 seconds. Courses are completed at your own pace, but they're reasonable at your own pace. 10 seconds is not a reasonable pace.
No,
So we've build something that is accountable and faithful, ensuring that people actually study and learn, but they do so with the flexibility they need.
gotcha. And like you said, you've been around. It's been around for since '04. I mean, a lot of places have taken off ever since COVID, which has already been 5 years ago coming up. But a lot of places have taken off when COVID was around. And I'm not saying, I mean, but you guys have been around since '04. Like you said, you were the force to do all this great things, and that's still your mission today. So
Right.
I like
Right.
that
Yeah, we
mission.
were here
Uh,
long before COVID. When
right.
people started talking about online education, by the time COVID happened, we're like, we've been doing this more than a decade.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going through this question in real quick, Matt, because I think this might be a lot of people on a lot of people's minds, and they might want to do a little research on this. So maybe save a little bit of time for them here. Is so again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like everything is pretty much recorded. There's no live classes. You go at your own pace. And then but then also, is that correct? And then also, how long are each class? I mean, I'm sure they vary by what topic discussion you're doing.
Yep.
But just again, like average, what's the time length
Right.
in the
Yeah,
class?
all classes are online, taken at your own pace. There's no live classes. You simply log in whenever you want to. The content is a combination of reading, audio. Like I said, we have audio prayers, might be video embedded into the lessons, but it's something you can take in literally any browsers. You don't need anything special. You can take it on your phone, your tablet, your laptop. Really doesn't matter as long as you have an internet. Your account on catechismclass.com, clicking on the title of the lesson and beginning. And all classes are like that. It doesn't matter if it's children class or an adult class. The content, though, will vary, so the length will vary. For instance, young children's classes, they're going to be much shorter because, first and second grade, the content's going to be reduced and the depth is going to be reduced. That might be a 20-minute class on average. An adult class might be an hour on average. It just totally depends. If you're taking an advanced level course on us, like one of our advanced courses is studying all the councils of the church throughout the centuries and reading some of the documents from these councils and understanding the history and the figures and the popes and the saints at these councils, that class might be longer than an hour because it's one of our more advanced classes. But I would say generally a children's lesson should be completed in under 30 minutes or so, an adult's class in about an hour or so. But again, that depends on every single person because you read at different paces too. The lessons are also narrated, so there's an audio function if you wanted to listen to the text on the page. We put that in for people with reading disabilities. It goes through in much more detail than other programs too, so there's no superficial nature here, and that's what really appealed to me. And that's usually the feedback we get too. People appreciate, one, the flexibility. You can study for your child's baptism flexibly online. You don't need to go to an in-person class. You're studying for confirmation online, or you're simply wanting to learn the faith more, and you're able to go so much more in detail at your own pace that you never did in person, and you feel like, wow, like there was so much more. I only learned 10% of what the faith actually entails, and I just wish somebody would have taught me more. I hear that all the time. So we're making available something that can teach you and teach anybody who wants the fullness of the faith, and that's what I think is particularly why I still love doing this so much, is because it's not superficial. It's really that pearl of great price, which is the faith. So to understand it all is great, and there's so much we emphasize as activities to live it out and practice it and live it. So it's not just an intellectual exercise like learning math or we're learning history here. We're actually learning something that has deep applicability and you can practice in your own life immediately and play because your salvation depends on it. When everything else is over and the world is done and all these other studies don't really matter anymore, this will matter. So it has eternal lasting significance. So why wouldn't you want to put your time into learning something that's literally going to be around even after the world ends? And that's what the faith will be.
Right, absolutely. I would kind of agree more with that statement. So I'm gonna throw another question out there real quick while we still have a little bit of time, Matt, about this. Is just something I've been thinking about the whole kind of most of the discussion here today. And I mean, this is for me, I think this is for a lot of people, is again, it's kind of a two-part question, but so A, where do I, if I'm open, if I'm open to doing it, I'm register, and I'm pretty much open to, I mean, again, I know about the faith, I just don't know more the depths of it, so to say. But I'm open to learn pretty much anything on the faith. As a 23-year-old, where would be a good starting point for me to dive into classes? Like what topic, where would I start if
Right.
I'm open to pretty much learning about anything?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think everybody.com, and you'll find our homepage and more information about us. But if you go in the top under shop and you click that, you can click on complete catalog in the drop-down list, and that has absolutely everything we offer in different categories. But in our bestseller section, along with our adult core section, there's the adult faith formation program. And that's where I would say to start because it's a bundle of 6 different classes on the commandments, on the New Testament, on the Old Testament, on the sacraments, on the theology of the Mass, and on the articles of the Creed. And it's going to go through all those in great detail. So it's going to give you.
So we were talking about, I mean, where to start for people who is open to it because I know you talked you were starting and then it cut out. So again, because again, about the question is, like, I know some about the faith, right? But I don't know a lot about the faith. And this is why I kind of started the podcast, to make sure everyone who listens to it knows more about the faith, but where is a good place to start?
So I was saying, if you go to our website, catechismclass.com, you go to the top, you click on shop, and then you click on complete catalog, you'll find all of our items on that page. And I would say start with the Adult Faith Formation Program. You'll find it under bestsellers for adults. It's our bundle of 6 of our most popular courses on the rudimentary practice of the faith, whether that be the commandments or the theology of the Mass or the sacraments or the scriptures. That's the great place to start. And then after that, you can progress on to other courses, like the Adult Faith Formation Level 2 is a bundle of other courses like Mariology, how to develop a prayer life, understanding the precepts of the church. And then if you want to go further, Adult Faith Formation Level 3 is our highest level, is more advanced courses, maybe the study of the third person of the Blessed Trinity called Phenomenology, or understanding Christian philosophy, or understanding miracles in detail and how we can use them for apologetics and other apologetic courses. So we have different tiers and different levels, but I would say Adult Faith Formation Level 1 is a course that absolutely everybody gets so much out of. I would just start there, and after that you can progress on to other levels. And then for children, it's usually based around your grade in school. So if you're looking to sign up children, it's based on whatever grade in school they are right now.
Gotcha. And that makes it a lot easier on parents too. Because I
Right.
think, I mean, again, it's kind of like, everyone might be interested in it, but it's like, I mean, where do I go? Which one do I start? So, great answer on that one. So again, Matt, we come to the end here. Just one more time, where can people find the classes? And then if they want to get in contact with you about any questions they have on this, since you're you're like the senior person there, where can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you go to the website, catechismclass.com. You can check out all of our courses there. Please scroll to the bottom. We have our frequently asked questions too, which go over a lot more information. But if your question isn't answered there, you can simply go to our contact us page on our website and then fill that out, and then I or somebody else will get back to you, depending on what your question is. But yeah, it's really a class for everybody. Now, in a new liturgical year, approaching a new calendar year, probably not a better time to be investing in your religious education. So many people focus on New Year's goals, and you should your life, you should know everything. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people don't prioritize religious goals, their faith goals. So I would encourage everybody to always make faith goal one person's goal for sure, almost everybody's goal.
Right. No, absolutely. Well said. Again, it's Matt. Pleasing everyone. Thank you again, Matt, for coming along. Sorry about the glitching. I guess again, for anyone who's doesn't know, I'm at work right now currently, so maybe my coworkers are using too much of the internet right now. So I apologize to you, Matt, and for everyone listening for the glitches. But thank you for coming back on the show, Matt, and thank you for what you do. And hopefully a lot of people flock to your site, and hopefully they get a lot out of your classes. I highly recommend it, folks. So again, thank you, Matt.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate the time, and thank you for supporting our mission.
Absolutely. And that's what we do here at the show, folks. We help other podcasts, other blogs, other sites get promoted, and we help them out as well. It's a great conversation, and plus it's better for the church, it's better for the faith, because again, like Matt said, if you don't know about the faith, you're not going to love the faith, and then it's like you're not going to be with the faith, you're not going to stay with the faith. So again, we'll have the links down in the show notes for everyone to have quick access to, and it's something that I might be just interested in for sure as well. And again, I'm not a big reader, but I like the audio of it, and you can go at your own pace, which is, I think, huge in today's age, where it's, we like to have control, kinda, and which is not great, but we like to have our own pace, and that's huge with these classes, I believe. So, again, thank you for your time, folks. Sorry for the glitching again. We'll be back and better than ever next week. And God bless, God willing. Let's go to the sacrament, stay in state of grace, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Catholic Table Talk podcast, where everything Catholic is on the table. Don't forget to subscribe to Catholic Table Talk on your favorite podcast platform to get new episodes delivered directly to you every Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern.